Do you want to take the dogs to the park today?
I'd love to, but I should write another video script. I should update my website. I should plan my senior model program. I'd love to, but I have too much to do. If you also find shoulds running your life, stay tuned to learn the downsides of shoulding yourself and some strategies to help. Hey, it's Angela, and welcome to my channel, Befriend in 10. We start collecting shoulds pretty much from the moment we're born. After all, we're newcomers to planet Earth, and everyone is interested in teaching us how to navigate life, especially our caregivers. As our circle widens, we collect more shoulds from our teachers, from our friends and family and neighbors and the groups we belong to, from our employers, from social media, from commercial messaging, and even from ourselves, from our values, the things that are important to us. And you may ask, what's wrong with should? Isn't it a helpful word, one that enables us to be good people and to do the right thing? This may be true when we are small children or when we are easily able to shrug off the shoulds that don't work for us. But for many people, myself included, shoulds can become a cognitive distortion, which is an incorrect and inaccurate way to see the world that makes us discouraged and miserable. Psychologists and therapists have noticed that many of their anxious and depressed clients use the words I should and I shouldn't excessively. There's a lot of reasons that shoulds aren't that great for mental health. First, should is a judgmental word. It implies one right option and a bunch of wrong options. So if you do the right option, you're good, and if you do the wrong option, there's, something wrong with you. Should is also a shaming word. When we have to tell ourselves we should do something, usually it's because we haven't gotten around to doing it yet. So when you say, I should go exercise, you're implicitly criticizing yourself because you haven't gotten up off the sofa and done it. Should is also a word that literally steals your time because you spend your time and energy, which is your life, doing things that you believe you should do instead of doing the things that your own values, needs, and wants would have you do. Should is also a word that saps our motivation. We usually tell ourselves we should do something because we think it's going to motivate us to do that thing. And maybe it did when we were 5. But as adults, too many shoulds can demoralize us instead of spur us to action, especially if we have a lot of failed shoulds in our past, like all of us do. Things that we blame ourselves for or feel guilty about. And then the word should becomes this reminder of all the things that we didn't do, and that's demoralizing. And should's about the way you feel, like, I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't be so sensitive, I should be happy, are especially detrimental for mental health. Almost all therapists and counselors agree that your authentic feelings need to be felt, they need to be acknowledged, and they need to be processed and digested, rather than shut up, locked away, and denied. So if you are someone who operates under the tyranny of a bunch of shoulds, here's how you can start to free yourself from that. So the first thing you can start doing is catch your shoulds and question them. I first started noticing my shoulds a couple of years ago when I said to a friend, "It's so hot, but I shouldn't wear shorts." And she said, "Says who?" And this really caught me off guard because a lot of the people that I would say that comment to would understand that the reason I couldn't wear shorts is because I'm not a size 6 anymore. But having to explain that to her, someone who didn't actually subscribe to that rule, made me question it and realize that there are no should police policing the streets or policing my yard to make sure that all exposed legs are a size 6 or thinner and tanned and trim. I mean, it was just this leftover should that I picked up when I was a cheerleader who had an eating disorder, and it didn't apply to me anymore. That simple act of noticing your shoulds and asking, says who, is a really Really helpful first step. Other good questions might be, what is the purpose of this should? Is this should important to me right now at this stage of my life? Does this should help me or does it hurt me? And does this should help or hurt other people? By working through some of these questions, it may help you release the grip that the should has on you. The second step is to rephrase the shoulds that are important to you as a choice that moves you forward. You can do this by changing your I should statement into a statement that reflects your own agency and choice. For example, instead of saying, I should take that online class I bought last week, you can say, I want to take the online class I bought last week, or I get to take the online class I bought last week, or I'm going to take the online class I bought last week today after lunch. And you can also rephrase the shoulds that you're not going to do as a personal choice and own that. Using the previous example, you could say, I don't have time in my schedule to take the class this week, I'll try again next week, and then put it in your calendar. Or you could say, I just don't have time to take this class. Next time I'm tempted to buy a class, I'll remember how hard it is to fit in my schedule. Notice how rephrasing your should statements as a matter of free will and choice gives you agency and power over your life. Instead of shoulds dictating or guilting you into doing or not doing things, you are intentionally choosing what you do. Now, sometimes your should statements will be in conflict with each other, and this can cause a little bit of stress because shoulds exist in a world where they should all be obeyed. I should go to bed at a decent hour, and I should finish my YouTube script. So when you hear yourself doing something like that, you will rephrase the shoulds as coulds, so it becomes a series of choices that you're trying to make. So now it becomes, I could go to bed at a decent hour, or I could stay up and finish my YouTube script. And it's a choice, right? A choice that I get to make based on what moves me closer to my top priorities, my top goals, and my top values. So which is more important to me, sleep or finishing the script? 30 years ago, I would have said work. But now that I'm 57, I opted for sleep. Because if I don't get enough sleep, I just have a terrible day the next day. Like, I need my sleep. And also, if I stayed up writing when I'm tired, then my script is gonna really suck. So I opted for sleep. Maybe other people would have chosen differently, but that's the thing. It's my life and I get to decide. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button or leave me a comment about some shoulds that you're rethinking. See you next week.